Hi, everyone. We are here today for our PickFu Third Thursday discussion. With me today is Lacey Brown. She is on our marketing team. She's one of our marketing managers. We also had John Lee, who's a co-founder, but he dropped off literally just as we were going live. So John will join us in a second, we hope. We're having some technical difficulties. But anyway, we will proceed. Oh, here's John. So say hi, John. We missed you.
Technical difficulties. The internet is wonderful.
Yeah, John is broadcasting from his mother-in-law's house, so internet is a little spotty. Anyway, our Third Thursday discussion is really a chance for you to ask questions. And so if you are watching this live, please feel free to use the comments on Facebook or YouTube, and we will answer your questions. If you are watching the replay and you want us to get to you in our next session, go ahead and visit this link. You can also enter any poll that you want us to run, and in our next session, we might go through your results in detail. So please feel free to visit that link, and that way we'll keep this discussion going. Okay, so in today's Third Thursday session, what we want to talk about is using PickFu in the early stages of business. And there is kind of a fancy term for this. It's something called idea validation. And the basic idea around idea validation is that before you really dive kind of headfirst into a new venture, before you commit the resources to, staff up or, register domains or do a bunch of code or buy a bunch of inventory, you want to have reassurance that your business is something that people want and need. Your idea is going to fill some kind of need or desire out there in the marketplace. So essentially what you're doing is you are taking, some research methods to, build the confidence in the idea. And along the way, you will, perhaps refine the idea. You will learn about your target market. But basically what's going to happen is you are going to build a proof of concept. And this might help you, in your investor deck. It might just help you personally kind of develop your business plan. But ultimately what it's going to do is it's going to save you time and it's going to save you money because you're not going to go down a rabbit hole that's going to lead you in the wrong direction. And PickFu is a great tool for you in that stage of development. So we're going to go through a couple of examples to show you exactly what we mean. All right, so in this first example, this is a person who is exploring a new product idea. And the question asked is, would you buy a hibachi-style tabletop charcoal grill to cook skewers, yakitori, etc., in a social, interactive manner with friends and family? And you can see that the respondent pool was 50 avid home cooks, and that is, kind of one of the audience options that we offer based off of reported behavior. And what was interesting about this was, the comments kind of gave you a really good sense of what people thought about this idea. So some people reacted very enthusiastically. They were like, "Oh yeah, I would definitely use that. That sounds fun. This is like a fondue party," or something like that. But, other people weren't so sure. They were like, well, I would need to know how much it was going to cost, or I'm not sure how frequently I would use it, or I don't know what I would cook on it. And, even some people said, I don't know that this would be safe to use inside. And so what this helps this seller do is basically see, okay, well, if I am going to proceed with this product, what are some of the concerns that I need to address? Or what are some of the ideas, you know, that I can share with people for what they would cook on it or what they can do with it, you know, things like that. And that's going to help you sort of develop your marketing. It might help you develop your product. Basically, any of those kinds of questions or concerns that people raise are going to help you kind of hone that idea and hone the messaging around how you market that product. If I were to offer a suggestion, I might have also added a star rating to this poll. You could basically ask all respondents to rate from 1 to 5 stars, maybe how interested in this product they would be. And then you could kind of filter by, oh, well, let me see what the 5-star people said versus let me see what the 1-star people said. And you could kind of get an idea or a feel for it that way. So that's just kind of a suggestion that I might offer in the future. Do you guys have any thoughts about that you want to add?
I would chime in. We did just announce that we have a new feature, and I feel like this is a good time to bring that up.
Sure.
So if you had run an open poll like this, you could click in this filter bar that Kim is showing there, and you see a common drop down of commonly used words. And I feel like that would be a great opportunity with this poll where you could just type in simply yes or no and kind of see like, hey, of all the people who answered yes, I would buy this poll or buy this product. You can see what are their reasons why, or why did they want to buy, and compare that to the no answers. So that's just like one use case there for the new filtering option that we just rolled out.
Definitely. Yeah, great. John, anything to add?
No, I was going to make the same recommendation to use the to use the filters and use them well. I think for a lot of the polls that we run internally at PickFu, we lean on that filter functionality a lot, and so that helps really surface a lot of really nice insights.
Yeah, and what's great about these filters is if you have, for instance, a team member that you want to share the results with, if you go here into the URL bar, you will actually, your URL will actually change based off of that filter, and you can share that, that filtered view with your team member or colleague.
And Kim, I wanted to reiterate something that you said there too. I think a lot of times people might think running a poll is just like, should I source this product? Should I not? But really what you said there, I think is really important, that like people can see, you know, will people actually buy it? Is it a viable product? But then also look at the comments and really extrapolate all these different content pieces. What should their bullets say? Talk about the title. Like there's so much value in those comments that if you can see how to use them in different ways, running one poll can actually really help you in more ways than just answering a single question. It's not just answering, is this product viable or not, but it's actually can really help you make a really sophisticated landing page and whatnot, whatever you need to market it. So I love that idea.
Yeah, definitely. You ask one question, but it opens up so many kind of thought starters and avenues to go down for sure. Speaking of sourcing a product, kind of a related, you know, use is, you know, if you are just kind of wondering, you know, if you're looking for something to sell, you know, you've been on Helium 10 or, you know, you're on Alibaba or what have you, and you're looking at a couple different manufacturers. This is also a great way to kind of get feedback and have reassurance that you're kind of, you know, you're choosing the right path. And so here is an example of a seller who is asking which product looks more premium and why would you buy it over the others? And this is a ranked poll with 50 Amazon Prime members. And so what these 50 people were asked to do is basically say, okay, I would buy this one first, then this is my second choice, and this is my third choice. And what you can see here is option B is kind of a pretty definitive winner, followed then by this blue chevron and then the blue and white stars. And, you know, this is an example of a question that kind of directs people in a certain way. So the idea is which product looks more premium. And so, you know, really looking for that quality angle, you know, this is something that's going to be in your home. You want it to match your decor, you know, questions like that. And, so in this example, what came out is, a lot of people commented on the color and the pattern. These are subjective choices. And the gray really seemed to call out sophistication to people. So if that is the vibe you're going for, if like, let's say your product line is all about, sophisticated modern products, maybe the star pattern doesn't really fit that aesthetic, right? So thinking through, what is going to be the most popular on Amazon with Amazon shoppers, I think is another good early use for PickFu.
Kim, another thing I'd add in there too, I think in the comments when we were looking at this, a lot of the results are talking about the color gray. And so one thing I've seen a lot of people do is they will run one poll and then run a follow-up. And so in this example, maybe they run this one, they could choose to just go source and sell B, and that could be their product. Or you can come behind and run another poll that have 3 options that are all gray and more like streamlined and whatnot. So there's a lot of opportunities with PickFu where you can actually like build on the information that you're getting. It's not just like that once and done. So
exactly, right. So what if I did, instead of a plain gray, what if I took that same chevron pattern or that same star pattern, but I made it gray instead of blue? Would that be the difference? Right, exactly. So you can really hone down what do people like about this thing and be really sure about what you're selling. Yeah, great comment. Let's talk about apps and features and things. John, why don't you walk us through this example?
Sure thing. So this is one of my favorite poll examples, actually, because, as we all know, if you've ever tried to develop an app, it takes a really long time. You're talking development cycles of months to potentially even years. So it's putting in a lot of upfront work to try to hit this target market with a feature set that you have in your mind that you think, oh, it's really going to resonate in the market. But based on a lot of research now, I think probably 75% of apps fail. I believe that, like 75% of apps are abandoned after 1 day. I think 90% after a month is what the stats say. Most users only try it out once and then they never try it again. And so it's really important to try to nail that value prop that you have for your app before you sort of commit your resources. So in this case, this is a mobile app developer who is trying to decide which key feature they were going to try to either develop or make as the core of their app. So the 3 options we have are, 1, an app that allows you to search bars and pubs based on the musical atmosphere of that location. So this is for choosing where to go based on music. Option B is an app that lets you decide which songs will be played when you're at the bar or pub. So completely different use case. And then option C is an app that allows you to know which song is being played at a bar and pub, and also be able to save that song into Spotify or buy it on iTunes. So maybe you're there at this establishment, you like what's playing right now, you say, hey, what's that? You use your app, and then you can take that with you, bring it home, listen to it later. So 3 very different use cases, all centered around bars and pubs. And obviously, I think this was run before sort of the current times that we're in. But this is pretty interesting because option C was the winner here, as you can see. Option A was close, but option C was the winner. All the respondents ranked the options by preference. And if you look at the comments, a lot of them were saying that basically option B wasn't anything that resonated well to them, but that option C was really the one that really motivated. That was kind of the more compelling feature to be able to, that would compel them to install the app, try it out, and so on. Yeah, and so I think the takeaway from this is that if you're basically the earlier on you are in your stages of development or idea conceptualization, the more effective it is. Like the earlier you can test, the more effective a PickFu poll can be in terms of sort of helping you refine your value statement, your key features, and so on. And so imagine how much time this saves, because if, let's say, that developer didn't run this poll, went and built the option B app of allowing you to decide which songs get played in a bar and pub, they might not find out that that's not a great feature to offer to their market until it's too late, you know? So
that's right. And, this was an interesting poll too, because this is a general population audience. So what that basically means is the first 50 people who came to this poll answered, and that kind of gives you a grab bag, right, of genders, right, of ages and things like that. But on PickFu, specifically for mobile apps, you can filter, or you can define your audience based off, for instance, what mobile device they use. Are they an iOS or Android user? You could potentially do an age bracket. So if you think, this is probably going to be targeted towards 25-year-olds, you could have a group of just people in the 25 age range. You could also, we're talking about bars and pubs. Maybe you want to do beer and alcohol drinkers, which is another, segment that we offer. So there's a lot of targeting things that you could do as well in this kind of application. What's also interesting too is, I'm not a developer, but just in sort of doing the research, I've seen that, even the simplest app, so like, let's say like a tip calculator. Mm-hmm. If you outsource the coding, you're going to spend at least 10 grand on that. And so, imagine, a game, or, as you add other functionality, the price is just going to go up and up and up and up. And so you don't want to send those developers down, a path that, is ultimately not going to resonate with anybody, especially, if that's your money or that's your investor's money. That could, like you said, just save you a lot of time, save you a lot of money, and give you reassurance. And if you are looking to pull in investors, that is a great tool to have in your pitch deck to say, look, we had all of these people say that this is something that they want to download.
Right. And circling back on your targeting, one other aspect of audience targeting that we've seen mobile app developers use really well is actually App Store spend of our panelists. So if, depending on whether you are developing a free app that's going to be supported by ads, or an app that you think you would like to charge users for, then you can actually segment by App Store spend and the amount of App Store spend to really kind of hone in on that target market that could be your potential users.
Yeah.
I want to add into, I love that you guys have kind of listed out a lot of the different types of targeting that we offer. But I also I wanted to play a little bit of devil's advocate, because I kind of think it's clever that this person just used a general audience, because while we can be super specific with our PickFu polls, sometimes you have to know it's okay to just poll a general audience. Like,
absolutely.
If you don't know your target audience yet, it's okay to just do general poll. And that's something we've kind of been talking about, is that there's still a lot of value in that. So
yeah,
I just encourage users, if you don't know your exact target audience, just use the general. Like, you don't have to guess or try to pinpoint somebody yet. It's okay to just use the general ones and still you're still going to get really valuable information.
Yeah, and what's interesting too is you can sort of find out, well, who are these people, right? So you can break it down by age, by gender, and you can sort of figure out, okay, well, if this is sort of the person that I'm really looking for, okay, this is a 35 to 44-year-old female. Maybe I didn't think that women would be the target of my, of my app, but maybe they are. You can definitely find surprises buried in there, and you can add sort of reporting features. So if you want to see, okay, well, of these people, who is an iOS user, who is an Android user, or what have you, you could just do a general audience, but add extra reporting so that you can see those things and sort of find out more about who answered this poll.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, let's go through another example. Lacey, why don't you walk us through this one?
Yeah, okay. So this one that we're looking at, this is a integrated medicine clinic out in Idaho. The city specifically is called Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. And this business is basically asking which business name should I move forward with. And they provide one option of Restoration Healthcare, and the other one is a play on the name of their city, which is Coeur de Health. And now if you look at the response, option A was the winner. It's 60 compared to 40, and it's not necessarily a large landslide, right? That's kind of split. But I think what's really interesting about this poll is knowing who you're trying to target. People, if you're thinking integrated in a medical clinic, you might be thinking like small town, just trying to talk to everyday people. Then restoration healthcare may be more aligned with your target audience, where if you want to be really pricey and hit those higher end customers, Corda Health may be an option. So that was some of the stuff that came out of the feedback. Sorry, Kim, if you want to scroll down. It was interesting. Some of the people said that B was just too fancy and it made them feel like it was out of their price range. And then B, or option A, said it felt more simple and it was just more friendly. Some people joked that there's nothing needed that needs to be that fancy in that part of the country. So there was some like geographical connotations there. So some people said it was hard to pronounce. There was a lot of conversation around like, well, how do I pronounce that? And what's interesting is like this person chose to run a PickFu poll, not geographically bound. They're just kind of general. So a lot of people may not be familiar with how to pronounce that. So I can see why that would come up. But there's just, it just stresses the importance of really knowing your audience and knowing like who you're trying to go for, who are you trying to attract with the different types of names. So we always suggest like building out customer avatars and being mindful of who are the types of people, what do they want, what are they looking for, and doing that kind of stuff. And then keep in mind that we do have geographical targeting, so you can target people that are just in rural areas versus urban areas. You can target different regions of the US. So you can say like, I only want to target people in the Rockies or things like that. So people who may be more familiar with that city. But yeah, I think this is a fun one. And I think it's a great example of, putting a business name out there and floating that. I think that's a big deal. I think sometimes people get married to a certain idea, but being open to hearing different ideas. One of the comments I thought was really wise from the respondents, they even said how, what if this business were to relocate or change locations? They'd totally have to rebrand. Now, if I was a business owner and that wasn't on my radar, I would be so grateful for that respondent who provided that opportunity. Like I wouldn't have even thought about that maybe. So I think it's just, there's a lot of gold in the comments and looking at how just getting that unbiased feedback can really help you make a wise business decision. So do you guys have any thoughts on that one?
I saw that this poll was run about a year ago, and I did a quick Google search, and look at this. I did Restoration Hardware.
Nice.
Sorry, Restoration Healthcare, not hardware. So I think what's interesting is, as a customer, you may not think to yourself like, oh, I don't want to do business with this like weird business name, but it does make an impression. And I think, I've seen polls that are, really interesting, especially like you said, like around pronunciation or kind of punny names. Does that really instill the right impression in your customer base that you want? And, I remember one poll of a business name that had to do with lending, and they made the S in the name a $sign. And that was a real turnoff for people. Mm-hmm. And I mean, just little things like that maybe you think, oh, that's probably clever. But when you go and you ask a big group of people, you realize kind of the crowd doesn't think so. Mm-hmm. And I think that is something that, again, especially if you're going through, registering your domains, grabbing trademarks, making merch and like swag for your, company signage and all that kind of stuff. I mean, why would you want that, without confidence that is a good name for you to use?
Yeah. One other thing that I wanted to mention that I forgot to is that if you look at the question that this person used, they said, which integrated medicine clinic name is best for an office in Coeur d'Alene, Idaho, and why? And I think that's so smart. Like there's a nugget in there because they gave a really important piece of information, right, in the poll question, where if they hadn't said that, the results probably would have been hands down one way or another, not Coeur d'Alene. We're adding that into the poll question and giving the respondents that context changes the whole game of how they respond to it, because they're like, oh, okay, it's a play on the location. And so I just wanted to call that out too, that you can find clever ways to put context into your poll question where you're not asking a double-barreled question, but it's still clear, and giving that context that's going to help them make an informed decision.
Yeah, that's a really good point, because we definitely see there's definitely an art to asking the right question and putting it in the right way, and it's this balance between, you want to keep it simple, but you want to provide the right context so that our panelists are put in the right mindset when they're actually looking at your options and answering your question. And so it's definitely a tricky balance, where I'll say that we're definitely working on ways to try to improve that for our users. But this is a really good example of trying to keep the context and the question simple.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some other ways that people can use PickFu in sort of the early stages of their business? I mean, we've seen a lot of these tests. So what other applications can you guys think of for an early stage test?
To me, just like the idea of writing, maybe you're an author and you want to write a book. Well, maybe you have this idea, but you're not sure which direction to take the book in. Does it end in a happy ending, or is that, there's a lot of things just around the context of what type of book you want to write. So I think that's an idea that comes to mind, is in that author space.
Cool. And then also along the lines of this past poll that we were looking at in terms of a business or any kind of project, obviously they were testing a potential business name here, but like you said, Kim, anything related to that business. So particularly like your business logo, before you go into trademarking, we see a lot of those kinds of logo tests. And the interesting thing with logo tests is that a design may work really well for one medium, like let's say when it's color, but have you thought about it in terms of black and white on, or printed on paper versus on like a t-shirt or on a sign or a billboard or something. So we see a lot of PickFu tests run for testing out business logos.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, as you start to build assets around your new business, things like, what does your website look like? Maybe you are deciding on a WordPress template or a Shopify template, and you're not really sure, okay, well, before I, have somebody, or before I build out this entire website, why don't I just take a general kind of screenshot? The website doesn't even have to work. It doesn't have to be live. It doesn't have to function. Just making sure that my color schemes, my photos, things like that are in the right ballpark, so that I know before I, develop all that content and I source all those pictures and, all that kind of stuff, that it's attractive and it's trustworthy and it's sending the right message. All right. Well, this was a great discussion around idea validation. Thank you all for tuning in. Again, if you want to ask a question or submit a poll, please go to this link, and we will catch you next month on Third Thursday. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.